If anybody has had the greatest year of all time, then it's definitely arsenic, because who doesn't like being in demand all the time? Before starting it, I'd like to say please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and watch it till the end so we can discuss about RS and fever of this drug, which is the most important symptoms of the drug. So I've divided all the generals of the drug into A, B, C, D, E, starting first with the constitution. The patient is lean, thin, debilitated patient. The look on the face is Hippocratic. Also, it is quite dirty and waxy, very dirty appearance. Moving on to A stands from ailments from, first thing. So ailments from, the list is long. It ranges from winter, ice cream, fruits, decayed food, ptomaine poisoning, abuse of alcohol, tobacco, mountain climbing. There are another things which we can add on in A are anemia, asthma, and the fact that the symptoms reoccur periodically in an annual fashion, so annually. Starting with B, the pains are burning in character. The burning is as such that the affected parts burn like fire, as if hot coals were applied to the parts, and it is better by hot application or better by heat, hot drinks. This is B. Then the second part of B is beachside or seaside complaints. And the third and the last part of B is beach, that is midday, midnight aggravation. So C, going on to C, the patient is chilly. The patient wants to be in a warm room but wants its head in refrigerator. This is one part. Then he cannot bear sight or smell of food. This is also seen in sepia and colchicum. Cold water, unquenchable thirst for cold water, drinks and sips, short interval, short or small amount, small quantity. There is craving for milk, and there is cachexia, since you've seen the patient is quite thin and debilitated. And last thing is cold sweats, especially after fever. Moving on to D, the discharges of arsenic are quite characteristic. They are acrid, putrid, scanty, offensive like cadaverous odor, so that offensive to that extent, and burning, dark discharges. And there is debility. We will talk more about debility in exhaustion, which is E. Exhaustion is out of proportion to the illness. There is sinking of strength. Vitals are pretty low. Exhaustion is such that it is not felt when he is resting, but when he tries to move, he is surprised. There is emaciation. Few books mention it as rapid emaciation, few books mention it as gradual. In conditions like marasmus, or it could be anything like cancer or malaria. So this is physical generals of arsenic. Almost everything is covered. Now let's go on to the mental symptoms of arsenic. Again, they can be put into here. A is anxiety, fear of death, anguish, fear of death is as such that he feels that he is going to die and he is incurable. There is no medicine that can help him come out of this illness. This fear of death and this paranoia is very common currently, which is one of the reasons why arsenic is so well indicated. The greater the suffering, the greater the anguish. There is restlessness and fear of death. That is A. There's nothing much from B, and he's also ambitious on a positive note. C, there is courage, lack of, and confusion, again in later stages. D, despair, indifference, not really D, but fear of death can be added here. Then there are peculiar dreams. Dreams of sorrow, fear, thunderstorm, dark, and death. Other mental symptoms include irritability, peevishness, being waxed, which are not really fitting here but are quite easy to remember if you understand the drug. Moving on to particulars, the particulars of the drug are quite easy and complicated at the same time, but they can all be summed up with common sense. For example, all miasms are part of the drug. So let's take example of eye. So for first aid there will be burning, inflammation, redness, itching. Then another, if we shift, then there will be edema of eyes or eyelid. Then we shift, there will be corneal ulceration. So similarly, if you move ahead, you can actually fill in all the particulars, or we can take the therapeutic method where you associate it with a pathological condition. But the main particulars which we have to talk about is RS. So there are suffocative spells. The patient cannot lie down on the bed. He has to either have a 90 degree, that is sit erect, or a 45 or an acute angle where he has to bend forward. He springs out of the bed at night, especially 12, like midnight aggravation. There is wheezing, respiration. There is hemoptysis. The cough is dry, as from sulfur fumes. Now they've mentioned frothiness of the cough, and they've also mentioned worse with drinking. This only makes me think about aspiration, and there is burning. So all the generals can therefore be put into all the particulars, but RS is important. And another thing that is important is fever of this drug. Now the fever in arsenic is high grade fever. High grade fever is generally not seen in corona, but there is periodicity, there is prostration, there is delirium, there are cold sweats, so maybe that, but otherwise the fever is pretty high grade. Since it is such an acute inflammatory drug like appendicitis or pyelonephritis, so in all those cases the fever is pretty high. This is arsenic. I have not done much with particulars because generals are more important and you can easily fit them into any particulars. It is complementary to phosphorus, carboveg, pyrogenum. Also, if arsenic fails, anthracinum can be given in certain local condition, but otherwise arsenic is such a drug that it is indicated in literally every condition, and when you start with therapeutics, it will be a drug you always write in the paper. Thank you. If you like the channel,